Have you ever wondered why sometimes God seems to isolate and protect certain individuals from the world? It's a question that has likely crossed your mind, sparking intrigue and curiosity. Let's embark on a journey to explore this profound query, one that delves into the realm of faith, divinity, and purpose. Throughout the centuries, countless individuals have found themselves seemingly set apart, shielded from the world by an unseen force. But what could be the reason behind this divine isolation? Could it be a mere coincidence? Or is there a grander design at play? A divine plan meticulously woven by the Creator himself? We'll examine this through the lens of biblical truth and facts, seeking answers in the ancient scriptures that have guided millions of believers worldwide. We'll explore 3 reasons why God might isolate and protect his chosen ones, each shedding light on aspects of faith, character, and purpose. Join us as we delve into this intriguing topic and unravel the truth behind God's divine plan. The first reason why God isolates his chosen ones is to strengthen their faith. This may seem counterintuitive at first glance, but let's dive deeper into this concept, delving into the biblical history. Consider the story of Abraham, a narrative deeply ingrained in the fabric of Genesis, the first book of the Bible. This profound tale, found between the 22nd chapter's 1st and 19th verses, beautifully encapsulates this idea of faith strengthening through isolation. Abraham was a man of great faith, a faith that was not innate, but cultivated over time through a series of trials and tribulations. One of the most significant of these trials was when God asked Abraham to sacrifice his beloved son Isaac. Yes, you heard that right. God asked Abraham to sacrifice his own flesh and blood, his heir, and the embodiment of God's promise to him. Yet Abraham, despite the agony and heartbreak that must have gripped his heart, did not balk. He prepared to carry out God's command, trusting in his wisdom and his promise. This was not an easy task. It required Abraham to isolate himself from societal norms and the love for his son, to place his faith in God above all else. In the end, God spared Isaac, providing a ram for Abraham to sacrifice instead. God was not interested in the sacrifice per se. He was interested in Abraham's faith, his willingness to obey, his trust in God's wisdom and promise. Through this isolation, God strengthened Abraham's faith. And this was not a one-off event. Throughout the Bible, we see God isolating his chosen ones to test and strengthen their faith, from Moses in the wilderness to Jesus in the desert. So in times of isolation, when you feel alone and tested, remember Abraham. Remember that faith grows in solitude and in times of trials. Remember that God sometimes isolates his chosen ones, not because he has abandoned them, but because he is shaping them, strengthening their faith. Through isolation, God strengthened Abraham's faith, showing us that faith grows in solitude and in times of trials. The second reason why God isolates his chosen ones is to mold their character. Let's delve into the story of Joseph, a profound narrative nestled within the pages of Genesis chapters 37 to 50. Joseph's life offers a vivid illustration of how God employs isolation as a divine chisel, shaping and refining the character of his chosen ones. Joseph, a favored son, found himself thrown into a pit by his envious brothers, sold into slavery, and later unjustly incarcerated. Each of these experiences represented a form of isolation, a separation from the familiar, the comfortable, and the ordinary. Yet within these lonely spaces, Joseph was not abandoned. God was there, sculpting his character, instilling resilience, fortitude, and an unwavering trust in divine providence. Fast forward through years of hardship, and we find Joseph rising to become the second most powerful man in Egypt. His wisdom in managing resources during a time of plenty saved Egypt and surrounding nations from a devastating famine. But could Joseph have been the deliverer he became without the molding process that took place during his years of isolation? Unlikely. The character traits that were honed during his isolation, integrity, humility, perseverance, and a deep-rooted reliance on God, were the very qualities that equipped him to lead with wisdom and compassion. His character, shaped in the crucible of isolation, was the linchpin that held Egypt together during a catastrophic famine. In our own lives, we may face periods of isolation, times when we feel separated from everything familiar and comfortable. But remember, like Joseph, we are never alone in these spaces. God is there using the isolation as a divine tool to shape our character, to mold us into the people He desires us to be. These periods of seclusion are not meant to break us, but to build us, to prepare us for the roles we are destined to play, the lives we are meant to touch, and the difference we are called to make. Joseph's story teaches us that God uses isolation as a tool to shape our character and prepare us for greater responsibilities. The third reason why God isolates His chosen ones is to fulfill His divine purpose. Let's consider the story of Moses from Exodus chapters 2 to 4. Moses was a man chosen by God, and yet he spent 40 years in the wilderness, isolated from his people. Why? Because God was preparing him for a monumental task, the liberation of the Israelites from Egypt. During this period of isolation, Moses encountered God in a burning bush. He spoke with the divine, received his calling, and was equipped with the power and courage to confront Pharaoh. This divine isolation was not a punishment, but a period of preparation, a time to grow and to be molded into the leader that God intended him to be. Just like Moses, we may find ourselves in periods of isolation. But remember, these moments serve a purpose. They are times of preparation for the role we are destined to play in His grand design. Moses' story shows us that God isolates us to prepare us for His divine purpose. So why does God isolate and protect His chosen ones? We've journeyed through the vast landscape of this question, and we've discovered three compelling reasons. First, God uses isolation as a tool to fortify faith. Like a blacksmith tempers steel, God uses solitude to strengthen our resolve, making it resilient to the trials of life. Second, isolation serves as a divine chisel, sculpting our character. Through solitude, God molds us into vessels of virtue, chipping away at our flaws and imperfections to reveal the best version of ourselves. Lastly, God's isolation is a testament to His grand design. He isolates us not as a punishment, but as a preparation, charting our course towards His divine purpose. In essence, God's isolation is an act of divine love, a process of refinement and preparation for something greater. God isolates and protects His chosen ones to strengthen their faith, mold their character, and fulfill His divine purpose. Remember, when you find yourself in solitude, God is preparing you for something greater. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to share, like and subscribe to PlainPath Learning TV. Remember, kindness is cool.